Okay, hold on. Let's. I'm sorry.
Welcome to another Teaching Tuesday. Wild blessings are indeed abounding, and today is going to be on being wild and prepared. So I'm glad you joined me. Thank you so much for taking time to invest in yourself and in your family by learning about all of God's wild blessings that He has placed free for us to gather. My name is Holly Drake, and I'm on YouTube and on a private Facebook group. So if you want to be a part of a community, it's Wild Blessings with Holly Drake, private Facebook group. So you'd have to friend me and ask to join, and I'd be happy to accept you. So I want to introduce you to some of my friends that are here today and a guest speaker. So guys, come on over. Briefly, just the overview of where we're heading today is we're going to be talking about wild preparedness and some Jody, well, let me introduce Jody. Come on in, guys. All right, this is Jody and this is Bonnie. And Jody's going to be sharing with us on some of her tips, on her best tips on being wild, being prepared, just not wild. But
I am wild.
She's wild. We're definitely kindred spirits.
Yes.
So I'm really excited about what she has to share. And also I'll be sharing with you some of my wild tips on how you can be prepared with just God's free provisions, and sharing with you the things that are on this counter and how you can do the same things. So first of all, I always start every class by herbing around, and you might say, what are you doing, Holly? And so this is goldenrod, and I have a bunch of it dried. This is just a tiny bit of what I have dried, but goldenrod is such an amazing plant. If you want to learn about it, I did a whole hour class on it. It is 7 times higher in antioxidants than green tea. It is an absolute super tea. So it's a good thing to have a stock of. And so my friends are going to be herbing around over at the table, destemming the goldenrod. And what I want you to do, girls, if you can hand me the goldenrod right behind you, that whole thing. Yeah, that's fine. The can too. All right. So the best way to do it, I have found, is to the things that you have dried is to dry it onto a cutting board that is flexible. And then once you have, I'm sorry, pretend I did it on the cutting board. So this is what you're going to do. Okay. And so Jody labeled it for me, the jar, and then you put that dried material, just make it a funnel. And that is just such an easy way to do it. So you've got the goldenrod and you also have the lambsquarter seeds. So you can be doing that. And then Bonnie,
Yes.
You were just doing some herbing around over there. What were you doing?
I was working on acorns and opening them up and pulling the meat out of them and then putting them into water. And what does the water do?
Well, they oxidize right away. So watch my acorn class 2 weeks ago if you want to learn about that. But we've been cooking with acorns a lot. So you're going to enjoy eating some acorn muffins for dessert today. The reason why she put it in water is because it keeps it from oxidizing. And then, of course, we leach it out. And watch my class on how to do the cold leaching, which is my favorite way. It takes longer, but the hot leaching works as well. And it's a lot faster. So you guys got that? Okay. And this is one is already ready for the lambsquarter seeds. And if you could take these over and just put it over there for now, because I want to do a sniff test. All right, so we're going to be talking about some ways in which you can preserve the wild harvest. And so one of the things I've been excited about doing this week is just drying things. And so I did this a while ago. This is a wild mushroom. So I'm going to give them a sniff test and see if they can tell what these different things are. So Jody, come over here with your nose and tell me what you think that is. What do you think that is, Bonnie?
It's sweet. It smells sweet.
Yeah. This is dried tomato powder. And so you dry them. My dehydrator has been busy. And so then I dried them and then put them in a coffee grinder and ground them up. But you can reconstitute that into tomato paste.
I got it.
So good. Can you smell it now? Okay, now this one, I'm sure you'll get. I know you'll get this. I wish you guys could sniff this.
It sounds almost like caraway.
It's a berry.
It's a berry.
Yep. Really high in antioxidants and super good for colds and flu. Even the pharmaceutical company is pushing this particular berry. It's purple. This is elderberry powder.
Elderberry, yeah.
Okay. Super yummy. Okay, this one I couldn't get to powder up. but it smells, you'll know what this is. You were just working with them.
Well, it smells like nuts. Yeah.
No, this is
Acorns.
autumn olive berry.
Oh,
Smell it.
my
Yep.
sniffer is not working that well.
This is autumn olive.
Yeah.
And then I powdered up some yucca seeds from yucca so I can make that into flour, super high in nutrition. This one is actually toxic and you'd never want to eat this, but I did it for dye and ink. And this is pokeberries, which the Constitution of the United States was supposedly written with pokeberries. So if I were to
label that
put,
one very well.
I will. I know what it is. The pokeberry itself is not poisonous. It's just the seeds, and the seeds aren't in there. Okay, and then I have, of course, the powdered acorns for coffee, and I have the powdered dandelion for making into flour, and I have all kinds of things powdered. So this is blackberry powder. Can you smell that?
Yes.
Isn't that awesome?
Mhm.
And then I've been
Wow,
also
isn't that
preserving by
good?
doing a lot
Really
of
nice.
jellies. And so we
Mhm.
have lots of different jellies over here. This is a crabapple jelly, and this is a wild grape jelly. This is pumpkin butter, spiced pumpkin butter, and that is beautyberry jelly. So that's exciting.
What is this one here?
This is chestnut butter. So the chestnut butter is absolutely amazing. And these are the chestnuts, and the chestnuts are here. So yeah, that's my little bit of my herbing around that I've been doing here, and I wanted to share with you guys. So
Thank you.
let's see, what else did we want to talk about while we were up here? Yeah, I guess that's it. So if you want to go back to your
Do you
chair,
want me to
take that.
How
Mhm.
do
I
that?
need the lamb's quarters.
And you can take all of this stick with you. You want to have a drying stick that has these nails on it, and put them high and dry,
Isn't that pretty?
Oh, wow.
so they can dry completely. You do not want any moisture when you're trying to jar things up. All right.
Very nice.
Okay, so welcome to my new members, and I'm really, really honored that you would join me. I hope you love this class. I hope you learn along with me, and you learn best by doing. So it's one thing just to listen to Holly talk about stuff, and it's another thing to do it yourself. So make sure that you can join with me in some of the wild contests that I provide each week. And last week, the winner of our wild contest was Karen Campbell. So Karen, I can't wait to go foraging with you. The winners get to go foraging with Holly. So we'll have a wild time, Karen. I'm looking forward. Make sure you bring Chloe. Okay, so we're going to have a slideshow and in just a minute. And of all the things that I've been foraging for this week, of my foraging adventures with Tracy Terry and with Deanna and Valley, that was so much fun. And the things I've been cooking up and the things that will be talking about are represented on the slideshow. So we'll watch that. Then Jody's going to share her tips on just being wildly prepared, or just prepared. And then, whoops, there's my phone. And then I'm going to share some wild tips with you. Yikes. How do I turn it off? I took a picture of
Hand
it.
it to me.
I'll hand it to my husband.
Let's get rid of that noise.
Yeah. All right. So we'll talk about what's on Nature's Wave right now. Of course, nuts are still in season. And what's really exciting is that the dandelion is back. And it looked kind of grumpy in the summertime, but now it is absolutely glorious. And this is the time to gather dandelion leaves and chickweed leaves, because they're out in the cold weather. And also you want to get their roots this time of year to make medicine. Some other things I have on the counter that I made this week is a hawthorn elixir with the berries I got from Jenny's farm. And I just put half honey, local honey, and half brandy. And this will be really good medicine, especially for the heart. And then I'm making some vinegars out of the hawthorn just by adding sugar to the filtered water and then letting that sit. I have to put the cloth lids on. I just did it this morning. And what else am I got on here that I've been herbing around with? Yeah. All right. So Jody, come on up and tell us about what you made for our lunch today.
Oh, sure.
Isn't that beautiful? She designed this for us. I wish you could join us for lunch.
It's fun.
Yeah. So what did you put on here? It's all wild except for the carrots and the eggs.
Yeah,
And the cheese.
And the cheese.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
didn't deal with any goats over this. But these are our dandelion greens. They were washed nicely and dried, probably 2 or 3 times to get them nice and clean. I took the stems off of them. I personally think they're just a little too crunchy for a salad, and they can be used in soups or for any number of other things.
Or put it in your dog food.
And then we have the, what are they called?
Autumn olive berries.
Autumn.
Elaeagnus umbellata.
I
Are
love
the stems. Are the stems possibly more bitter than the leaves?
They're just, they get stuck in your teeth.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. All right.
And then, of course, we have and these are
Chestnuts.
right? And Holly had done her eggs. I can't
I'd
wait to
pickle
taste
them.
them.
Yeah.
Pickled eggs. They're so beautiful.
Which is another way to preserve them.
And of course, to eat this, I would imagine it'd be good to just sprinkle the cheese over it and
Mix it
mix
all
it
up.
up a little bit. Put whatever dressing you like.
So what is the secret of eating a dandelion? Do you eat it like this? Do you eat the whole leaf? Or
I try not to waste any dandelion because it's
I know,
so
but if you were to just,
nutritious.
I know it is, but if you were to eat if I were to serve this to Jason like this, he would go, that is disgusting.
No, well,
So
not
what
if
did you-
cut it up,
He'd
chop
say,
it up
"Where are the
small."
goats?"
That's the key, is cutting it up small.
Mhm.
Yeah, just
So
chop it
I
up.
probably would have even cut it a little bit more, but that's okay. It's going to be so nutritious. It's
And
probably
if you're-
better
if
than
you're just
anything
getting
else.
started,
Mhm.
I think it's you might want to just mix it into your other
That's
salad.
what I
It's
was thinking
part
too.
of your other
Yeah, but
greens.
we're hardcore.
Oh yeah, you'll
No,
go
just
for
mix
it after a
mix it
while.
up.
Oh,
That's-
okay.
that's
For
what
you,
makes
I
it
will.
easy.
Now, here's the thing. We need hydrochloric acid in our stomachs. And so if you have any digestive issues and you think, oh, I've got too much acid in my stomach, actually, you have not enough. And so eating dandelion leaves actually makes your body create more hydrochloric acid. So did you know that?
No,
So Susan Weed actually goes out and she gets a dandelion leaf, whatever time of year, and she always eats it before every single meal so that she doesn't have digestive issues. So I think that's pretty cool.
sort of like the Asians use ginger, too.
Yeah,
They
or
do that.
kimchi, which is something else we'll talk about.
Mhm.
Okay,
Thank you.
so that's great. All right,
Thanks
I
so
wanted
much.
to have our wild tea, which we do every week. We have a wild tea, so let me get it out. And what I have is crabapple juice sweetened with monk juice or what is that called?
Monk fruit?
Monk fruit. Okay, there you go. Let me put this over here to get the cups out. And I haven't even sampled this, so I have no idea what it tastes like. So you guys will be brave and be my samplers.
Did you mix it with a little seltzer?
That would have been a good idea. I did not. You want to just try it straight?
If you want, I can get some seltzer if you want to try it. Can you get some right now?
Well, let's try it.
has
Well,
a
come
little
here and try it.
extra.
Jason, come over here first and try it just like this.
It has a little extra.
No. Okay, so look how beautiful this color is. And what I absolutely love about crab apples is that they are so high in pectin. And so when I'm making fruit leathers or I'm making jams with berries that don't have the pectin, I always add an crab apple sauce that I had created just out of these free crab apples. Super simple to do, just like it was applesauce, but it's so much higher in pectin than even the apples. And let's see, Jason,
So-
I want you to try it first.
Okay, so
with
you can
this.
always do that. You can always add a little bit of seltzer. Oops, I'm going to turn it around here. So it just gives a little sparkle, a little extra
It's not
flavor.
even cold.
That's good. It's kind of tart. I think the seltzer would help it.
Okay, well, the seltzer doesn't have any sugar in it, right?
No, it does not.
All right. So that'll be yours.
Fine. Fine.
And girls, do you want to try this?
Yes.
It's half and half.
Can you serve them?
Sure, I can do it.
You're going to show us how to make that, right?
What do you mean?
Do
The
you
juice?
keep the crabapple peel on it while you're doing it?
I did a whole class on that. So well, I'll answer that in the comments if you like, or we'll just be here all day. All right, Jace, this is for you, honey.
Okay. Where's the seltzer?
Wow.
Where'd you put the seltzer?
I put it back there. That is so good. That is so delicious. I love that.
Add a little extra seltzer.
Add a little extra seltzer
Yeah.
and make sure it's cold.
Add a little extra.
Okay. All right. So, so many things to talk about today. I just want to make sure that that I don't miss any of it. It's just so important. This is such an important class. One of the things I wanted to talk about is how important it is to develop a shopping center. And I have maybe 50 shopping centers all around Todd. I know this area super well. And what I do is I'll go up to a house of a friend or somebody who is not a friend yet, but somebody that I notice that they have a butternut tree, or I notice that they have a black walnut tree, or autumn olive berries or something. And I will take them a brand new wild jelly that I made, and I will take them a card, one of my cards. And so if you guys want my card, I'll explain to you why it's a good idea for you to get my card. But I take my card and I'll go up to the door and I'll introduce myself. And I will say, I'm Holly Drake. I'm a wild edible plants educator. And I noticed that you had some autumn olive berry on your land. And I was wondering if you would let me forage for it. And I would say out of the hundreds of times I have done that, I've only been told no twice. So I know you're not Holly Drake, but you can say I'm in a class where my teacher requires me to go up to a complete stranger and ask them if I can go forage for their chestnuts that I noticed you had. And then you can give them my card and invite them to come to class, which would be amazing. So that's something I think that would be helpful, because a lot of you don't have these things on your land. I've spent the last 9 years bringing all of these things to my land. So I do have most things here, but I still love to go shopping in God's grocery stores. So that's something you can do. And another thing I wanted to say before we actually get started is that I live in an area that is so nutrient dense and plant dense, more than anywhere else. And so you might just think, good grief, I don't see this abundance around where I live. Well, let me assure you, there is abundance. It might not be the same, but there is abundance. So what I would recommend is go to a website called findaforager.com, type in your location, and then that will give you all the options of people that are in your location. Somebody sent that to me and said, Holly, you should put yourself on that so people can contact you, which I haven't done yet. But, you know, if you live on the coast or you live in California, when I lived in California, I wasn't into this. I didn't get into this until 2008. When I went to visit my in-laws in 2011, I think it was, I took some classes from local foragers and I learned about the abundance there. And it's different. A lot of the plants are similar, but they're still different because of the different environment. But I'm telling you, I learned so much. And I thought, wow, I wish I'd known this when I lived there for 20 years. But that wasn't where my head was at the time. So anyway, those are two really good hints that will help you to succeed in this, because I want you to succeed. Okay, so let's talk about some wild thoughts. Yes, sir.
Did you want to show your slide presentation now or later?
Oh, I do. Okay, so you're going to watch the slideshow, and then I'll share a couple of wild thoughts. Jody's going to share her things, and then whatever time is left, I'll share with you some ideas that I have for how you can spread the life. Okay, wasn't that fun? It's been a wonderful week. I would love to see the things you're foraging for. I would love to see you post your foraging basket. Did you love the way Deanna and Valley put together all of their foraging contents into the word love? It is truly all about love. All right, so I want to talk about love and another aspect of it, and that is something I give a talk, which I'll probably give between now and Christmas, called The Healing Plants in the Life of Christ. And here's a cloud think I made up for it. Listen to these words. Okay, this is amazing. There are over 300 prophecies concerning the coming Messiah, written over 1,500 years by 40 authors in 66 books. They were from all walks of life, from kings to fishermen, and from various cultures. So that's pretty wild. These prophecies told where the Messiah would be born, where he would live, his lineage, his name, and even the details of his crucifixion, 1,000 years before crucifixion was ever used for execution. If just 8 of those 300 prophecies were fulfilled, the odds of one man fulfilling all of them is 10 to the 17th power. That's 10 with 17 zeros after that. Even the very day of his triumphal entry into Jerusalem, riding on a donkey, was prophesied in the book of Daniel and Zechariah. So why do I share that? Well, because hope is a name. Love is a name. His name is Jesus. We have a problem. Our world is broken. And a problem is called sin. And ever since sin came into the garden and separated us from our Creator, he promised at that very moment that he would send a Messiah. And the Jews looked for that Messiah for thousands of years. And the Lord gave all through the Old Testament all of these prophecies saying he will be born of a virgin, he'll be born in Bethlehem, on and on, over 300. And I have a handout that I created of some of those, my favorite prophecies. But Jesus Christ fulfilled all of them. And he was executed on a cross because he claimed to be the Messiah. He claimed to be God. And that is what killed him. And so, that was not appreciated by the Pharisees or by religion, but he was the one that we have been looking for. And he promised he would come again. And he gives all kinds of details about what his second coming would be like. The first time he came as a suffering servant to rescue us from our sins and to pay for our sins and to bring us back to the heart of God, into love itself. But the second time he's coming as a king and which is what the Jews were expecting the first time, and that's why they refused to believe he was actually the Messiah. So there's even more prophecies concerning the second coming of Christ, and most of them, I think all of them, have been fulfilled. And honestly, I haven't studied that as much, and people have said for many, many years, oh, he's coming back on this day. Well, if that ever happens, you know it's not that day, because no one knows the time or the hour. But it does say we can know the seasons and the times and understand the times. And there's a scripture that says the wise man foresees the difficulties ahead and prepares for them, but the fool goes blindly on and suffers the consequences. And so in the times coming surrounding the coming of the Messiah the second time, it's not going to be an easy time, but we don't have to be afraid because he's here. And the scripture I gave you in the slideshow is, fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. Behold, I will uphold you with the right hand of my righteousness. And so we are not alone. He is with us. So whatever the future holds, whether it's an ice storm that puts the power out for 2 weeks in Texas of all places, or whether it's a hurricane, or whether it is the power grid going down, or whatever it is, we need to be prepared, because that's just wisdom. But we need to be prepared with stillness and rest, knowing that we're not alone, and that the one who made us, the one who even died for us, will freely give us all things. And I think Wild Blessings proves to you that all these free things are from a gift from the heart of a God who loves his children. So you are loved, and I want you to know that. Okay, those are my wild thoughts. And Jody, if you want to come up and share some of your tips on preparedness, I'd appreciate it. I'm going to stand next to her because I have the microphone.
Oh, please. Yeah, I'm just so pleased to be here in Holly's kitchen with friends. I'm energized. I'm hungry. Just watching the slide that we did. Oh, my gastric juices are working.
Well, good. And the dandelion will help that.
Oh, yes. I'll definitely, we're going to do that. But I come to you today. I've given myself a title.
What is
Yes, I'm an emergency preparedness instructor. And it comes from a place of tomfoolery. Started back a little further than you, back in the days of the Y2K. And for most people, it was a nothing burger, and they just proceeded in life. But for me, it was eye-opening that my world could possibly change overnight. And I began at that time playing little mental games with myself about what would we do. My children as well were victims. We had blackout parties, which I was going to share with you today. But
what is a blackout party?
we would have each person would receive in an envelope or just written on a piece of paper a scenario. So if the lights went out for whatever reason, when Y2K, that was frightening to me, that we could lose maybe all connectivity, that we wouldn't have lights for one thing. I was still watching television at that time. We wouldn't have television. We wouldn't have the computer. Yeah, we were on the computer at that time. But that was shocking. And then it went deeper. Well, if they don't get this all back up very quickly, what are we going to eat? I mean, when you flush the toilet 2 times, it's over. Then you have to figure something else out. And it went from one thing to another. So I felt that as an instructor, I felt that I wanted to help my family and anybody that would listen, go on the journey with me. And I don't know how wise I am. I see you put wise tips from Jody, but it can be fun. It's an adventure. It's godly, because I do understand that God gave us the ability to think and to prepare. And
like you were telling me about Joseph.
Yes, well, Joseph is a great example, but we have scriptures all through the scriptures that talks about being ready and prepared. So, because in my situation, the greatest tip of all is to be spiritually and emotionally prepared. The last thing that anyone would want to be is in a place of just absolute panic. Then you make mistakes, you can't think, your mind just goes numb, and you're prey to fear, you're prey to whatever is happening around you.
Yeah.
So
don't watch the news.
pardon?
Don't watch the news.
Well, you
And
can,
don't follow the crowd.
you can
follow
watch
Jesus.
the news, but eat lots of these. So we did for the blackout party. We, for example, everybody just got a few minutes, and the scenario. Okay, you can't flush the toilet anymore, John. What do you do? And really, that is so much fun, and it teaches you to think beyond your moment. And you think, well, what I do? And then each person would be able to come up. It's amazing. I think we have pioneers dormant in all of us, especially Americans. Thinking about the pioneers who came here with nothing, but they had everything. They survived. They were hardy people, but they didn't go down in fear. They just, had this confidence that they could make it. And so it's just amazing to see what people will come up with. And one person said to me one time, well, I'd go next door and ask if I could use their toilet. Well, that doesn't work, but it's fun. That's one thing that you can do with your families, friends, little by little. Just begin to think about what you can do when you're not in a position of absolute fear in your heart. And so the other things that I just wanted to share with you very quickly, there are certain things that you can do for yourself to prepare little by little. We just experienced it, about a year and a half ago now, toilet paper. Well, who would have thought about that? But it's a mindset that you begin to bring into your life and live by, where you begin to think about everything about, well, what could I do if I didn't have that?
Well, can I interrupt for a moment?
Yeah, please.
I went to the dollar store the other day to get mesh bags because one of the things I want to talk about today is curing your nuts. Okay.
Oh, that's
And
wonderful.
they did not have mesh bags, and they didn't have, like, I don't know, half of their inventory was gone, and it had been 3 months since it had been stocked up. And so there's all kinds of issues with shortages because of lots of reasons. So
We don't know all the reasons.
and then I was in
but-
Walmart right after that, and the lights turned off in Walmart for like 5 minutes. And I'm like, that's weird.
It's here.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just nice to be prepared. Go ahead.
But you had confidence in yourself
Well,
that you
no,
could
I did in
overcome. No, you
Jesus.
didn't?
Yeah.
Well,
No, I mean, of course. I
he
mean, I've
gave
done what I
you the
can, but
ability
he's
to
with us.
think.
Yeah.
When you're not in absolute fear
Mhm.
and you have time to think, it's amazing what you can come up with. Just go quiet in yourself and go, yeah, well, maybe start with, well, what does it look like? What do I have around the house that looks like that?
Mhm.
My first thought was onion bags, and some of these bags that we get, how they put onions in bags where that you could strain, or a strainer of some kind, something like that you could use in a pinch. Anyway, just wanted to bring some simple points out and hopefully encourage you to begin to change your mindset a little bit. While we still have a lot of things that are available to us that we can either set aside, one for now, one for then, or just begin to think from a different perspective while we still have so much available to us. I hope and pray this will always be available to us, and I believe it will. But some of the things that we've learned to rely on, they may go away, or they may be interrupted for either brief periods of time or long periods of time. Living at the beach, as I did before I came to this glorious mountains, I love the mountains, I experienced 2 major hurricanes.
Oh, did you?
And that was a real lesson for me. but I sailed through it, and I helped my neighbors through it as well. People really did panic when they couldn't have what they were so accustomed to having.
Mhm.
And so as you move with it and live with that frame of mind from a happy place, it's easy when you actually confront these things. It's just mental training in many ways. If you've seen it and you've done it and you've practiced it, then when the time comes, if it comes, it's there.
Yeah, like I
It's
bet you know
there.
how to start a fire, right?
Oh yes, learned how to start a fire. The basic things. I wanted to just go over the fact that you have basic things. Water, of course. And it takes, when you have a power outage and you realize that your sink doesn't turn on anymore and your toilet doesn't flush anymore and your washing machine is not washing anymore, water becomes a real issue. Well, you need clean drinking water. You need water for just hygiene, very basic. But basically speaking, and these are the powers that be, say that the average person needs about a gallon of water a day to survive. And a lot of that water is to drink. When you're in a state of anxiety, you need even more water.
Yeah.
And so
Your brain is 85% water.
Yes, we're water people from the water planet, but we do need the water. And so there are so many simple ways. I'm sure that I'm speaking to the crowd here, but just to the simple idea of how do you filter your water.
Mhm.
Filtering is one thing, purifying it is another. Filtering is good, but you must go the step further and purify your water. You can basically drink out of mud puddles, the most disgusting looking water. It's still water, and it will sustain you in an emergency situation. But you need to be careful. Most people, when faced with an emergency, hurricane, or a weather event or whatever, the sickness comes in because they get diarrhea, they get dehydrated, and there's waterborne things, nasty things in the water where they did not think to sterilize it. So you need you need to figure it out, and what you can do on your land. You need about a gallon of water per person a day. That I have found water features are a great way. There's water always. I happen to live on the river, and I have a stream through my farm, but and I'm still going to need to sterilize that water so I can drink it. But as far as water, the availability of the water to start with, I have horse troughs filled with water made into water features for the yard, very attractive. You can come up with a million things that you could do with
Don't
those.
leaves fall on the top of the water?
Pardon?
Are the horse troughs open? Like, do
Yeah.
leaves fall into the water and
Yeah,
everything?
you just scoop the leaves out, but it
Okay.
doesn't matter if
'Cause
the
you're gonna
leaves in
purify it.
there. They just take up space.
Mm.
But you're going to need that water. That water in that horse trough stays pretty good for just washing and
Is that from the
cleaning.
rain coming down, or do you fill it up?
It can be rain, but while I have a hose, I use the hose.
Yeah.
But it's if we do have rain, yeah, it fills up and it clarifies a little more after the rain. Sometimes it gets algae grows in it. I love algae. It's kind of pretty. I'm like you. I think algae is natural and it won't kill you, but you're not going to drink right from there.
Okay.
But
So how do you
that's your
purify it?
source. Well, these are just basics now, and I'm going to just bring it down to something really small. You can get water to drink out of any plastic bottle that you have, and I made this like a drink bottle,
Okay.
even and
Like a liter. Is that a liter?
Oh, right. It's not a matter of size. The principle is what I'd like to get across here. And what you're going to do is ahead of time, while you have the time, while you're not prepping out of a state of panic, buy a bag of play sand. from Lowe's or any hardware. Keep that somewhere, garage, wherever. It doesn't matter if it gets wet. It's going to get wet when you're working with it, but stash it under your deck or wherever. So this is just an idea. These are the elements that you're going to need, and there's really no set weigh amount. You know, if you have a cup of sand or a bucket of sand, the principle is what I'd like to get yourself some sand. You can also, while it's available to you, you can get some small pea gravel, and then you can have crushed gravel, and you can get that in maybe well, I think the last I saw, they were in big bags, but I think they come even in 20-pound bags.
Or you could get together with your neighbors and make a filter party.
Yeah, sure.
And everybody buy a little bit of something.
But just and you can buy these big bags and then break them up into smaller bags, you know, and just keep them for yourself. But you will need the sand, the gravel, and cheesecloth. I love cheesecloth. I keep lots of cheesecloth. It's good for making cheese, but it's also good for filtering.
Oh.
And it's easy to fold. I should have brought some today. It's easy to fold over to different thicknesses, but you will need cheesecloth. But just to show you how simple it is, this is an idea here where you would start upside down. You cut the top off of your bottle, say, and you would begin to fill it upside down. Keep the closure on it until you're ready to work with it. And first of all, you want to get something that's sturdy enough. Some of these water bottles will actually rip. They're too light. So a heavier bottle, even an olive oil bottle or something. I don't use a lot of plastic, so it's something that is clear, but a heavier plastic. And you would put holes in it so that you could hang it somewhere to drain. And you're smart.
It'll be heavy.
It will be a little heavy, so get yourself a little branch to go through here. Depends. It's a good idea. That is something I hadn't thought about actually, but a rod,
A metal rod.
a metal rod of some sort would hold it, and then you can go outside and hang it in the V of a tree or whatever to hold that. But you would start by putting your cheesecloth in the bottom, and you probably would want a thicker cloth. So you would be straining. That would be your last straining point into your catchment. Then you would go on top of that. You do the charcoal. Well, oh my gosh, where do we get the charcoal? Well, you can make it, but you can also save it, or you can buy it. Now, you don't want to buy the charcoal that has any kind of, you just want natural hardwood charcoal. Mm-hmm. And you will need to have burned it. It'll work better that way. So off your grill, if you're charcoaling, and I would just only urge you to use the natural hardwood charcoal. Or if you have a fire pit and you're burning hardwood, many people today have fire pits. I love my fire pit. And because it serves so many purposes from a prepper standpoint, and also just for entertaining and that sort of thing. But you can take the charcoal right out of your fire pit or your...
It sounds dirty.
Yeah, it is, but it's not.
Okay.
It really works. You're not going to eat it. You're just going to use
Okay.
it. Okay. And then I would just smash it up a little bit.
You don't need to keep the ashes. You're just keeping the actual charcoal chunks.
Yes. Take those chunks out, smash them up,
Yeah.
and they go in next into your bottle. You should have brought a bottle here.
That's okay. I don't have a bottle.
And once you get your charcoal layer in, and again, this is not to scale. This can be bucket size or drink bottle size. Then the next layer would be the sand.
No, it's a larger gravel. Larger. It looks like the larger gravel is right there on top of the charcoal.
Larger gravel. Thank you. I
Yeah.
need my glasses. Your larger gravel.
Yeah.
Then your sand. Then your smaller pea gravel. Another layer of sand.
Mhm.
And then you put another layer of cheesecloth in there, and you begin to put your dirty water in. Now it's hanging, and it will slowly, you have holes in the top, it will slowly drip off, and that will be filtered water.
Mhm.
Now you can use this from, like I say, on any scale that you want to, and you can mix these up. It's really, the point is it's traveling through all this, and it's letting off all of those nasty things, and it will filter the water. Please do not drink it. You need to boil it 3 minutes. That's hard to do when you don't have a stove working.
Yeah, you have to build a
So
fire.
prepare yourself. You're going to need to figure out how you're going to boil water, but you're going to need a cup of tea after all that anyway.
But you can use this over and over and over, right?
Yes, sure. Once you build it, you're done. And you can build it on a grand scale and just have it set aside somewhere, or you just always know in your mind. I mean, you can take a little drink bottle and stick it somewhere and just go, oh yeah, I remember doing that. And you
Mhm.
have all your elements.
We should make
there.
that part of our homework, and we could all take pictures of what we've done. That would be fun.
And I would say you need to filter it, and I would, it depending on what it looks like. I mean, if you're using really filthy water that could have a lot of real bad bacteria in it, or coliforms or whatever.
Yeah, or even extra sediment and other types of,
Right.
you know,
Just, you can filter.
So you're saying you
through
go through 3 times, like it comes out, you put it back
Mhm.
in 3
2
times,
or 3 times.
and then you still have to
You're-
boil it?
Then you still have to boil it. Yeah. Because
And
those
then what
little
is
critters
this?
still live in there.
What are the items?
This is the cheap method. You can boil it 3 minutes, perfectly fine. But right now, while you can either go online, or sometimes the hardware stores, and I'll tell you, a lot of these outdoorsy stores carry the water tablets. That's what they refer. If you go in and you say, do you have any water tablets? They'll know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But they really are an iodine kind of an iodine charcoal composite in a little pill. And you put it into your filtered water, and it'll give you right on the little thing how many tablets you need for, say, a gallon of water.
Sure.
And then you can drink it.
Because you can live 3 days without water, right?
Yeah.
So if you live in the city and you don't have a car, to stock up with water would not be what you recommend, because you don't have a car, and it's 8 pounds to carry a gallon of water. So if you had an option of building this and having a water source, would that be better than having just stored up
water?
water?
The water source is what you need to secure. But remember, your water source is not going to be your tap water. Your tap water is not going to be there for you.
Right. Can you drink out of the Hudson River?
I wouldn't want to, but
would this work?
If you put it through here,
With that system,
yes,
you
you
could.
could put it through here.
All right. Now you told me about a special straw.
Oh, well, I have all sorts of cheats that I've had through the years. I carry an earth straw with me. They have them from a 1-person size all the way to a gallon size. So you have family size earth straw.
Okay.
And so you would filter through
And is the
that.
earth straw kind of like this?
Basically, that's what the earth straw is.
Whoa,
You
that's
know, it's
cool.
real simple.
I sent them to my boys
Yeah.
when you told me about it.
Well, they look nicer when they're all wrapped up, and you don't want to carry an old bottle around with you like this. But I would also recommend a Berkey. I don't want to give a name in particular, but there's lots of water filtration kitchen units or units that you can use. I happen to have something called an Alexapure, which is like a big Berkey, but there's many knockoff places. And this, you can actually get the filters that are so fine that they will actually filter your water if it has any sort of, atomic type particles in it. We hope not, but that is important too.
Even for my pet, for Max, I would need to do this for his water if I can't get it from the sink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Max probably likes to drink out of puddles if he could.
Yes,
He went and laid in one yesterday, like a mud puddle.
Yeah, animals have more bacteria in their gut, and so they can handle a lot of this bacteria that we're not used to.
Yes.
But the last thing you want to do is be in a crisis situation, an emergency situation, and deal with giardia. And this is what we find in a lot of the third world countries. And if we could just help people to understand, it's real simple, it's very inexpensive, how to filter their water, number one, and then how to boil it or use these tablets, they're dirt cheap. So that would be my first thing, and I'm not going to talk all day, promise. And then you need to think about, so you need water, of course you need food. This is where you're so good. You help us understand that God has provided for us in so many ways. And I would hate to think in my stupidity years ago that I would sit there in a crying mess and be hungry when I know now what I know, that food is out there.
Yeah.
You just need to know it's there for you.
Oh, and Linda Runyon was telling me, she was my mentor, and she was a very famous forager, lived off the land for 13 years with no electricity, and she was amazing. So she's written a book I really recommend. I'll put in the comments, called The Essential Wild Food Survival Guide. But she said she was watching the news during the Kuwait War, and she saw these children had been eating their dogs, their pet dogs, because they had no food. But right behind the reporter was this immense stand of marshmallow, which is Malva neglecta, which is probably one of my absolute favorite wild edible plants. And it's beyond belief how nutritious that is. And they didn't even know. And so we need to know what God has given us, free for the knowing and the picking, so that we can be nourished and nourish our loved ones as well.
Absolutely. And it's knowledge. My people perish for lack of knowledge. And that's so true in so many instances. So start with your water, your what if games that you can play with yourself or your family, and you will be amazed how it comes to you. It will just, if you just begin to shift your brain and start to look at other things as how you could repurpose them, how you can use them. If you can't get something, what you can get and use instead of. And I'm going to stop talking because I'm so hungry. I can't wait to eat all this.
Whoa.
And I am just delighted to be here.
Oh,
really, it's
man.
been so much fun.
If you guys have any questions for Jody, put them in the comments, and I promise I'll send them to her and she'll get back with you about them. Another thing about water I was wondering to ask you about is, what about collecting water on the roof?
Oh, absolutely. Water catchment systems are intriguing to me. I have them all over my land, not just the stream, but you would be amazed. I have a small chicken coop with a gutter around a chicken coop. We've just gone through a period of 3 days of rain. I probably have over 200 gallons of water.
Wow.
That has come off of this small chicken coop. I guess it's with a metal roof. And the roof caught the rain, brought it down into, I have two large, I guess they would be about 50-gallon tubs.
Barrels,
And right now I'm just using that because where they are, I do not have a water spigot, and I'm taking care of some wild cats. I'm adopting them until we can get them neutered. And so they're in there. They're not chickens, but this is a spare coop. And I'm using that water. It's just like having a tap right there. I just dip it in and give them their fresh water every day. But off of a main house, not every roof pitch is perfect, but they all have a pitch. And so think about that. And at one point in time, I have barrels all of the drains off of my house.
She's amazing.
And so I have a lot of water.
Mhm.
That is not an issue for me, but it's come over the years just
Mhm.
thinking about, well, why don't we do this? And well,
Yeah.
why? Let's do that.
Yeah.
And it comes to you.
Yeah.
And it's fun to do that. So be prepared from a happy place while we still have time to
Mhm.
do these things and availability. Just take a moment and try to shift your thinking into what if.
Absolutely.
Okay.
That was awesome.
That's fun.
I have so many questions, but I'll ask you. Maybe you could come back.
Well, maybe next time we'll go.
That would be so good. Maybe we could
Well,
talk
you can
about how to
handle the
stay
food. I can
warm.
handle
Do you have things on how to stay warm and things like that?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Fire.
You guys want her back?
warmth
Give me a
is
thumbs up if
fun.
you do. We have 5 minutes. Okay, I've got 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Holly.
much. That was amazing. I just love her. All right, so let's just talk about some things that you can do to preserve food for the winter or for an emergency or for the future. So, did you know that every apple that you buy at the store in June or whatever was picked back in the fall? And they can preserve them really well by keeping them in a cool area. And so I'm going to do that with my apples. I have quite a bit in a huge bin, but I actually had to go through and find the apples that have been bruised or that are rotting in some place. One bad apple ruins the entire barrel. So that's a good one for relationships too. You want to surround yourself with people that will build you up and not destroy you. So this is a really good example of that. So one bad apple will ruin this whole bunch of good apples, which I'm going to preserve for the winter. If you find a bad apple, don't throw it out. I do love it when Jason tries to hit trees with it, but take it and cut off the bad part and use this to make apple butter, which I made a lot of apple butter. I'm still making apple butter. Or applesauce is another great thing to do. One of my other favorite things to stock up on, if you want to be prepared for food that lasts forever, is I love to buy mung beans. So I just bought more, but I've been through quite a bit of these. Get as many pounds of this as you can. Mung beans are super high in nutrition. Look it up and you'll see what I'm talking about. And then you can just sprout them. And what's so amazing about sprouting is that the enzymes are so essential. We need enzymes in our food so that we can digest. If you do not have living food, your body will steal the enzymes from your organs so that it can digest the food. And then you're depleted, where you're thinking you're actually eating and feeding your cells. You're not. You're actually making yourself sicker. So I've seen a lot of prepper videos this week. I don't usually watch those things, but there are a lot of people saying, oh, get canned this and canned that and canned this and canned that, which is fine. And it will fill your stomach, but it doesn't have the enzymes in it. So you need enzymes. So wild food, for heaven's sakes, and mung beans or any kind of seed that you can sprout. So what you do is you fill this up with hot water or warm water and let it sit for 24 hours, and then you strain it off. And I bought these this little lid that has the holes in it. So I can just go over to the sink and just pour it off and then let it sit like that. And then fill it up with water again. Come by every time you just come by. I keep it in my sink, and then within a couple of days, it'll start sprouting. And you've seen mung beans in Chinese restaurants and stuff, where you can actually see them in the grocery store, where you pay good money to buy them already sprouted. They're so delicious. And if you wait, and if you just have them soft, you can eat them almost like peas. You don't have to wait till they've sprouted out to eat them. One of the things about the dandelion, collect it now while the getting's good, is just so delicious and so prevalent. It's everywhere right now. After you've washed it well, I like to use Thieves Veggie Spray. I literally take it outside and I just go like this, and all of the water just goes flying off because I don't have a salad spinner, which I'd like one of those. That would be fun. Okay, so we talked about the apples, the mung beans, curing your nuts. I hope you're collecting your nuts. You need to cure them because they will last for decades if you cure them, and I'll give you a link on how to do that. Another thing that that Bonnie was noticing is that there are little tiny worms or weevils coming out of the acorns. And honestly, those are really, really high in protein. And so if you are game, you could use that for food as well. Freezing, I'm really I do a lot with freezing my wild edible plants, but I'm a little bit bummed about that right now because I have this huge freezer full of burdock root and all kinds of things. And I'm really much more into drying or fermenting. And so I have done an entire class on wild fermentation, and I'll give you the link to that. So I'm not going to go over that, but having wild sauerkrauts and kimchis is going to really build up your gut with the good flora that you need. So watch that if you weren't here back in March when we did that. Another one that I think you would really appreciate is I did an entire class on food preservation, and that was just for the winter or any emergency. So I'm really not going to go over all the ways you can brine and all the ways that you can dry and all the ways that you can freeze and all the way that you can ferment, etc., because I've already done that. So I'll give you the link to that as well. Your homework, I decided to change it from field work to field joys, because we are to rejoice and be glad forever in what he's created. And this is a joy. Now, I have to admit, it would be a lot more fun if I had 10 kids helping me, because my hands are always busy doing what you girls are doing right now. You got to collect these things, but then you've got to do something with them. You have to make the apple butters and the pumpkin butters and make the chestnut, cure your nuts, etc. But it's worth it. And it's such a abundant feeling to know that God has provided these things for us. We look to you to give us our food in due season. So this is what's out now on Nature's Wave. We gather it up, you open your hand, and we are satisfied. So even in times of emergency, God has provided. I'll never forget going to a pizzeria with Jordan in Brooklyn, and right next to the pizzeria was a ton of lambsquarter, and there was poke, and man, I'm just like, whatever. And then I went foraging with Green Dean in Central Park. So if you want to see that video, even there in New York City, there is abundance, and the trees are abundant, and the fruit and the nuts from the trees. My niece lives in Prague, and they actually have wild food forest for all the people to eat from. So that's pretty cool. So remember, if you want to get my cards, come get my cards. I'd be happy to send them to you. You don't really need them. You just walk up and say, I'm in a class. It's called Wild Blessings, and here's the link if you want to join it. And my assignment is to go foraging. So go foraging. Take pictures of your foraging basket for a chance to win, a chance to forage with me. Take pictures of what you're eating wild, and that puts you into the contest. And what else? Oh, the chestnut poems. I've got some chestnut poems I cannot wait to read to you, which we will do next week. So we're going to keep that up because I think the chestnut's well worth it. And I think it's time for us to eat our lunch. What do you think? Thank you for joining me. What?
Share.
Oh, yes, please. If you like this and this was a blessing to you, please share the blessings with others. And please support me on Patreon. This is my full-time job. This is what I do. And I love to keep it free because God gives it to us for free. And I want to give from my heart to you for free, but I really do need to pay bills. So please support me if you can. And what else? Oh, if you're on YouTube, like and subscribe and comment, because that will bring more people to my YouTube channel, I think. I'm not sure how algorithms work, but that would be helpful as well. So God bless you, and I hope you feel encouraged. And always remember that you are not alone. I am the great I am, the one who made us, the one who died for us, who lives forevermore, is always with us, and he's coming back. So God bless you.